Now here's my brother from another mother, Chocolate Yoddah. How are you, my
What's
brother?
up, man? I'm good. I absolutely love a phrase that she used because it's a phrase that I have employed when describing my experience in high school, which is I was a lone pepper in a sea of salt.
Oh yes, nice. Yeah, she
Yeah,
dropped it.
I
That's
love
nice.
that. So this is an excellent question. The I the Since it's a yes or no question, I think the answer is yes, but I want to kind of explore it from a different angle. So to me, and I think this is true for all religious tomes, but since the most popular one is the Bible, I'll just refer to the Bible. But I don't have to. I could just say religion essentially, the way I see it, and this is my own opinion. It's just adult fairy tales, right? Because
Ooh,
if we think about the fairy tales that we read to children, I want to ask a question that I think is worth asking, which is, first of all, how would a child be able to tell a difference between the stories of the Bible and the stories of Disney and the story of Jack and the Beanstalk? Like, is there, to a child, do you think there's any difference to those stories?
no.
Okay. So then my follow up question would be, why do we insist that children give up all of those fairy tales except one?
Wow. You know what? I to answer that question, I feel it is a matter of control to maintain an ultimate control.
Right. And isn't it interesting that there was I forget who said this, but the phrase was, religion is the opioid of the masses, or the opiate of the masses. The correct quote is, religion is the opium of the people, and it was by Karl Marx. And what do opiates do, Doobie? They dull you,
Yes.
right? That's what opioids do. They dull the brain. And so, what are we saying? When we say opiate of the masses, what we're saying is a way to control the masses by dulling their brain.
Yes.
And so, why do parents indulge in this? I personally believe that most of the parents that I've ever met in my life are a little bit lazy. And the easiest thing to do is just repeat what you've been told. If you're going to be a parent and that's your strategy, and I'm not saying it's a wrong strategy, I'm saying it's the easiest strategy, right? This is what society told me. This is what my mommy and daddy told me. So I'm going to turn around and repeat the same thing, right, to my children. I decided to do something different. And again, I'm not saying better, I'm saying different. I said, I'm rejecting what society told me. By and large, I'm rejecting how my mother raised me because I was very traumatized by how my mother raised me. And I'm rejecting what religion says because that shit doesn't make any sense to me. So
Mm.
I'm gonna create a new paradigm. So I'm flying without a net. I'm working without a template. And that was a scary place to be, but I can tell you my own subjective experience was that uh, what I did in raising my son, in rejecting how I was raised, was the right thing. He's actually thanked me for how I raised him.
How about that? Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, now, were you able to tell so actually, what you did, you became a curse breaker then, in essence.
That is one way to describe it. Sure. Sure. I think I just took responsibility for how I was going to raise my child and refused to just be mindless about it, because it's so easy to just be like, I mean, you hear it now. You can talk to a 60-year-old person about why they are the way they are. And one of the things they'll tell you is, that's how I was raised.
Yeah, yeah, and they can't break it, right? It's just that's just what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I just refuse to indulge in that kind of stuff. So that's why I did what I did.
I just feel that a lot of times if we're not able to recognize that part of our journey when it comes to our own kids, right? It will repeat itself as you and I love the mere fact when you stated that we would become lazy. Uh, I I've been around parents, a lot of parents, and I've always been a little outside the box, the old outcast type of a person around most things. And so for me, I was hesitant with my kids anyway, coming up. I mean, I allowed them to participate in a lot of things just because, again, wasn't too for sure. And I was coming along that journey where I wasn't so solid as I am today. But those are learning lessons. But I feel that if we are able to recognize things and can get on this pattern where we can break the traditional curses, then that allows us to grow. I've always stated that traditions are meant to be learned from, not to be lived. It's a
Yeah.
totally big difference when if you can't decipher those things.
Well, I agree with you. To me, traditions are just dead people's decisions. You
Oh, I
know,
love
and
that.
and here's the thing: those decisions might have been appropriate for when they were alive. I can't say for sure. But let's say they were. Let's say those decisions that these dead people made were perfectly suitable to the circumstance of their life. Well, the circumstances have changed, so their decisions are no longer viable.
Yes, yes.
And here's something, yeah, and here's something I would uh, tell anyone who is going to be faced with the decision of how to raise their child. I knew I was taking a risk because it's a gamble whose payoff you won't find out for decades. Okay, and so what I understood was two things. My goal was to raise a critical thinker, but I knew that meant that he would challenge me. And I gave him 3 lessons for life. These are the only 3 lessons that made any sense to me. I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm not saying they're smart. I'm just saying they made sense to me. So this is what I told my son when he was 10 years old. I said, number 1, respect everybody unless they give you a reason not to. Don't ever start a fight, but be ready, willing, and able to finish that fight. And number 3, don't take any shit from anybody, including me.
Mm.
Now, that last one is very difficult for parents because parents very often want to enjoy the only area of their life where they feel they have power, and that's over their children. So to be able to tell a child, hey, listen, you will always be able to question me. In fact, I want you to. I don't want you to take anything because I'm only going to give you the best of my thinking. That doesn't mean it's the best thought.
Nice. Oh man.
So what does that mean, Doobie? That means that parents have to be fucking humble and understand that they don't own children. This is my belief. I don't own, and I explained this to my son. I said, I don't own you. I said, I helped usher you into the world and you didn't ask to be here. I chose to bring you here. Right? And as a result, that means that I cannot control you. The only thing that I can do is tell you what I think. Right? And I remember asking him why he thought he knew more than his little sister. He has 4 siblings, and the closest one to him was 5 years younger. And I said, why do you think you know more than her? Well, I'm older. And what does that mean? Well, I've had a chance to learn things that she didn't learn. I said, right. So in 5 years, you were able to learn more than she learned. I said, I'm 21 years older than you. And that doesn't mean I'm smarter than you. That just means I've had more time to experience things that you haven't experienced yet. And so I will always give you my opinion of what you can do. Here's your choice A, your choice B, your choice C. But then the decision, the final decision, rests with you. And I explained that to a 10-year-old child, and I'm glad I did. He has thanked me for how I raised him, and we have a beautiful relationship. And with that, Doobie, I thank you because I always love your questions. I know you're trying to trick me, but I always love your questions.
Chocolate Yoddah, my brother. I really appreciate that, man. That was a great perspective.